Hello. Monday morning was supposed to be my day off this week, but they asked me to come in and work my day off, so get an extra 8 hours of overtime. I've been chilling way too much. Here, take a look at that sunrise. If you can see it through that camera, I don't know how I'm holding it. Nice sunrise today. Gonna be 92 degrees and hot and humid, of course, as usual for Florida in the summer. But what I wanted to talk about today was the Dunning-Kruger effect. Some of you are probably saying, oh no, not another video about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Waving to the runner. He was thankful that I went around him instead of trying to run him down with my vehicle. But the Dunning-Kruger effect, basically what it means, or how it's usually kind of defined, is people who, we tend to overestimate our own knowledge of things a lot of times. It's just a human trait that we overestimate ourselves and our own expertise and abilities, oftentimes without a really solid practical basis for making that assumption. You know, generally people will talk about, basically what it means is that you don't know enough about a subject to realize that you don't know enough to know anything about it. And you're talking about things that where you're a field where you're out of your depth, and your advice doesn't really mean anything, you know. And this is obviously a valid thing. You see it all the time on the internet. You know, anybody can have an opinion, anybody can state it, and have millions of people see it, you know. And you'll see people going on to other people's channels on YouTube about various different subjects, or Facebook, or wherever, and commenting about things, and it's obvious that a lot of times they're just repeating what they've heard somewhere else. And you know, you see it a lot in the firearms community, where you'll have instructors who make videos, or they talk about, you know, the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it always applies to someone else. That's what's interesting about the Dunning-Kruger effect. I saw a cartoon once. I wish I could have saved it, but basically it showed a bunch of people standing there on a subway car, and up above them is the little cloud thing where they're thinking, and every single one of them was thinking, I'm glad I know what I'm talking about, unlike all these other people. And that's basically what it is. Everybody thinks they know, and everybody else doesn't, you know. And we have to learn to make a realistic assessment of our own capabilities, our own, you know, knowledge and experience, to realize that there are a lot of subjects where we need to search out expert advice. The thing that got me thinking about this subject recently, of course, was on the Philippine Info channel. He made a video talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect, and specifically as it applies to people making videos about life in the Philippines. He, of course, is well known for talking about his sweet spot budget, you know, telling you need to have $2,000 to $3,000 a month coming in so that you can do what you need to do, and at the same time still have some savings, maybe have health insurance or whatever. And to really be living a comfortable life, you need that kind of money. And a lot of people will tell you, no, you know, they'll argue that you can get by easily on less than $1,000 a month. And so that was basically the avenue he was talking about right there. But you see it in all kinds of different fields. I read an article one time by Hawk Hochheim. I don't know how many of you recognize the name. A martial artist. He was a military policeman back in the day. Well-known martial artist, you know, and trainer. Actually did a lot of studying over in the Philippines, the Filipino stick fighting and things like that. But in one of his articles one time, he talked about you'll have different instructors. Say you're being attacked by someone with a knife, and one person will tell you, never grab the arm, whereas someone else will tell you, yeah, go ahead, grab the arm. And it's not that either one of them doesn't know what they're talking about or they're lying. It's just that maybe in their own life experience, they've had success doing it one way. The other person has had success doing it a different way. But people want to think like their way of doing things is the only way. You'll see it in the world of firearms training. You know, you'll have plenty of instructors out there who will tell you if you're not gripping the gun in the currently in vogue way of doing it, and your thumb's in a certain place, and applying this much grip pressure with this hand and this much grip pressure with the other hand, and this part of your finger on the trigger, that you're doing it wrong. You're not just doing it differently, you're doing it wrong. And that's a very common thing that you encounter. And a lot of these people who are telling you this, they actually are experts, okay? They can claim legitimate expertise. They've been there, they've done that. And they have a database of real world knowledge to draw from within their own experience. And so they have the right to say those things, and other people can't really say, well, you're stupid for saying that, because they know what they're talking about. They've been there, they've done that. But then you'll have other people who've been there and done that even more. In more places they've been there, and they've done more when they got there, and they have a totally different opinion, But that's just something that we see these days. Things become more like religious beliefs, if you're involved in a religion, it's kind of like, well, why would I be this religion and not another religion if this one's not right? It's not a question of all ways being right or acceptable, being different ways to get to the same place. It's my way is right, is the only way. I am one of the chosen, the few, the remnant of people who have been gifted with this actual knowledge, and everybody else who disagrees is wrong. And obviously, when you're talking about those people, you can say, well, they're just suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, and they don't know what they don't know, which is an easy thing to say about someone. You can't prove, a negative. So how do you know if they don't know enough? Just because someone has a different opinion than you, it doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about, They may just be doing things a different way. Sometimes different things work for different people. That doesn't mean that we should all be sitting around thinking that we're experts on things that we aren't. We should, it's like self-defense. Again, if you want to be sure of being able to keep yourself alive, you need to be capable of recognizing that there are things you can learn from other people, even if they're an asshole or you don't like the way they're saying it, or maybe not everything they say is right. Still, you need to look at what people say and see what you can learn from it, because that's the only path forward to true knowledge. On the other hand, with a lot of things, if you want to be really great at it, you have to have two different things going on at the same time. One, you need to be just a voracious reader and researcher and learning what people in the field have to say and why they have those opinions. On the other hand, you have to be willing to say, well, screw it. I'm doing it my way. Van Halen would not have been the guitarist he was if he had not been able to say, you know what, screw it, I'm doing things my way. If he had insisted on holding his pick the way that all the little Mel Bay instructional books told us all to, and doing everything exactly like everybody else, he would not have been a unique talent and changed the world of guitar playing, Sometimes you just have to say screw it and throw out the rule book and recognize your own ability. And the fact that other people don't have those same abilities or aren't capable of doing same things that you are to the same level of expertise or efficiency, that doesn't mean that you have to doubt yourself when you obviously know that you're performing. As long as the performance metrics are there and you can say, look, this works for me, then fine, do it that way. But this Dunning-Kruger stuff, it's just, I don't know, I've gotten so sick of hearing people talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's a valid point to make about people sometimes, but everybody always thinks it applies to someone else, or they wouldn't be talking about it, you never hear somebody saying, I suffer from the Dunning-Kruger effect. I think I know more about this subject than I really do. They always say the other people are suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, and they're the ones who don't know as much as they think they do. So it's something to be careful of. It's always fun to feel like you're the expert and other people who have different opinions don't know anything. But the fact of the matter is, all of us need to be careful about thinking we know more than we do. Even if we are an actual expert in something, we don't have to run around and denigrate everybody else who has a different opinion. And that is something that's far too common these days. And especially when you get into things, you know, say like martial arts, shooting, everything gets more oversized in those kind of pursuits, because you're talking about something, you know, it's not like questioning, well, what kind of fishing rod is better or something. You're talking about man stuff, you know, like you're kicking people's asses and blowing people away. And anytime you're talking about things like that, the egos just get more and more overblown. And the types of people who want to push their opinions in those fields, just more over the top. And you're dealing with people who, you know, can on occasion be violent assholes, and it just gets out of control sometimes. But even when you're talking about things like Philippine budgets and stuff, you know, and what living in the Philippines is like, it comes up. And I understand, you know, the point that was being made, because a lot of people, they've only been in the Philippines a couple of weeks, couple of months, whatever, and they want to tell you what you need to get by. And whereas someone who has been there for a long time and has actually been living there and making a success of things is obviously going to have a little bit better information to give you, you know? But we just all need to be careful thinking that we know more than everybody else, and talking about how everybody but us suffers from Dunning-Kruger, you know?